Okay, welcome. We're doing a deep dive today into something, well, pretty fascinating. We've got some source material here on a legend from Thailand, a ghost called the Kraswang. And honestly, the detail that jumps out immediately is how it supposedly gets around. It's not what you'd expect.
It involves everyday kitchen items for flying.
Bizarre, yes.
Yeah, definitely. So our mission for this deep dive is basically to look closely at what the source material tells us about this legend. We want to give you a really clear idea of the Kraswang, straight from these accounts.
Right, so where does the story even start? I mean, the Kraswang wasn't always this flying ghost thing, was it? What did the sources say?
Well, according to the legends described here, it seems the Kraswang began as a human, a man specifically. And he was apparently involved in sorcery, practicing magic.
Okay. And I'm guessing it didn't go well.
That's the gist of it. The account suggests something went wrong with his practice, leading to this transformation into the Kraswang.
The classic magic backfiring trope, but with such a weird outcome?
Okay, you mentioned the flying. Let's circle back to that because it's just so striking. The source material doesn't describe wings or anything typical like that.
No, not at all. It's quite specific, actually. The legend says it flies at night, riding on a wooden rice mortar.
Riding on it, like sitting on the heavy pounding tool.
That's the description. And it attaches winnowing baskets, you know, those flat, round ones for sifting rice.
Yeah.
It supposedly attaches those to its arms.
To its arms. Wow. That mental image is something else. And doesn't the source even mention a sound, like a whooshin?
It does. It mentions a distinct willy clink sound as it flies past. That level of detail, you know, it makes the legend feel more grounded somehow for people familiar with it.
Gives it a real sensory element, even if the method is so strange.
Exactly. A tangible presence.
Okay, so it's flying around on kitchenware at night. What's it after? What does the Kraswang eat, according to these accounts? The sources seem pretty consistent here. It apparently craves savory food. They mention things like grilled chicken just disappearing or fish vanishing from water jars overnight.
Leftovers, basically.
Seems like it. There's even a detail about sticky rice just sort of lifting away.
Yeah.
Attributed to the Kraswang.
Makes sense if it could just swoop in, I guess.
Yeah.
All right, so we have this entity, born from bad magic, flying with kitchen stuff, stealing dinner. How do people in the stories deal with it? What do the sources say about, like, protection?
Right. This touches on how communities in the legends respond. The sources mention a few things. People apparently use protective stuff like sprinkling turmeric powder around the house or holy water.
Turmeric, another everyday kitchen item. And you mentioned the baskets before. They're not just for flying. They're used defensively, too.
Yes. That's a really interesting twist in the legend. Another tactic described is making loud noises, specifically by beating winnowing baskets together at night.
Beating the baskets?
The idea is that the noise startles the Kraswang, drives it away. So it's like using the ghost's own signature items against it.
Using its own gear to scare it off. I love that kind of folk logic. So resourceful.
It really is.
Okay, so let's quickly recap the key things we've pulled from the source material in the Kraswang legend. We've got its origin, believed to be a man whose sorcery failed, its flight method, riding a mortar, using winnowing baskets on its arms, its diet, savory foods like chicken and fish, and how people try to ward it off, using turmeric, holy water, or, fascinatingly, beating those same winnowing baskets.
And tying this all together, what's really interesting is how this legend shows culture weaving the supernatural right into mundane daily life, using these very familiar objects, mortars and baskets, in such an unexpected supernatural context. It also kind of reflects community ways of dealing with fear, using what's readily available, which leads to a thought for you, the listener. When you consider this legend, this idea of kitchen tools becoming instruments of flight, what does that tell us about the power or meaning we give to everyday objects in folklore? And maybe, what other completely surprising, ordinary tools could you imagine legendary creatures using in stories?
That's a really interesting question to ponder. Definitely gives you new perspective on folklore. Well, thanks for joining us for this deep dive today.